People that live in Australia, how much are the fires affecting you? I can't tell you how many times I've called my mum to make sure she's still alive. She is a rural firefighter. Your mum's amazing, be sure to thank her for me for the amazing work she does. I hope she and your family stay safe during this horrible time. Not my town specifically. Although we have had a lot of smoke quality compared to approximately 20 cigarettes. Relatives evacuated. And one of the early deaths to be confirmed was a family friend. I'm in Gippsland, so it's bad here. Everyone knows someone who has been evacuated, lost their home, lost animals, etc. It's a really somber atmosphere made worse by the complete idiots running our government and their response. It feels like the only ones who will help us are our own countrymen and thankfully people from overseas. To everyone on here that donated, thank you so much, you have no idea how much it means. So know there are people out there who want to help. It was smoky one morning, but that's about it. It's been raining quite a bit this week in my area of SAW. Not to take away from how devastating the fires are at all and the immense loss of those affected. Australia is nearly the same size as the US, excluding Alaska, which I think people don't realize. I'm just here visiting for a while, but when someone compared Oz to the US, I was mind blown. Where the major blazes in NSW and East Victoria are to me would be like North and South Carolina to Texas for comparison. A shitload of smoke. Haven't been able to leave the house with my kids or run my aircon because it's not safe. Aircon is old and filter is shit. The couple of times I have needed to leave the house, driving is dangerous because visibility is insanely low. One of my friends has had to leave due to the smoke and another is about to. One's pregnant, the other is asthmatic. My auntie's house may or may not have gone, they still haven't been able to get to it, and a house I used to go to on family holidays has been confirmed to be ash. In all honesty, it's still early in the season. We have a couple of months of this to go yet. I live in Canberra. It's the city that had the air quality that was like a 10 times worse than New Delhi or something like that. Definitely sucked, but we were only number 1 in the world because the towns nearby that are right in it aren't counted on that list. They have it much worse by far. This was meant to be my summer of heading down the coast, but I haven't been able to go. That's so minor compared to the people who actually live on the south coast of NSW that it seems silly to type it. Most Aussies are basically fine. But this feels like the worst fire season across the board that I remember in my life, in terms of scope. I'm not sure about damage, fatalities. I live in a major city and don't have a home, so not at all really. It's just frustrating how incompetent the government has been at dealing with it. American here. I know very little about the situation. Would you elaborate how the government is dealing with it and how it could be better? I'm genuinely interested. Well, the Prime Minister went to Hawaii after the fires started for a vacay. I live in an urban area of Sydney, the inner west for those familiar, so my home, or life, is not at risk from the actual fires. But I can tell you that I've never experienced this level of smoke pollution in my life. Many people are opting to wear face masks, and advice has been to stay indoors as much as possible, preferably somewhere with air conditioning or filtered air. I can tell you it's having a very real effect on people's mental health. Not being able to see the sky for weeks at a time is a shock for Australian used to the usual gorgeous blue summers we're used to. Almost everyone I know has suffered from some sort of cough, itch, or irritation, also lots of styes in people's eyes. It's scary thinking about the long-term effects of breathing in all this charcoal will have. I guess we will just have to wait and see. Being 40 kilometers away from the closest fire, and seeing burnt leaves falling from the sky is unnerving. This is obviously not the worst of it, just my personal experience. I'm heading to the climate protest tonight in Sydney and I hope everyone who can, does too. I'm protesting tonight. I have a good mate fighting the fires on Kangaroo Island and I'm worried about him. We are advised to minimize our time spent outdoors and not to do any exercise due to the smoke. I woke up in a panic this morning as I smelt the smoke. Nothing was burning, it's just so thick. This morning it was raining ash and embers on my house and car. I'm incredibly far away from the fire site. The local business are affected as people are canceling bookings, not entering the fire danger area. It's not good for a lot of people. My city has been covered in smoke on and off for nearly 2 months and it's too toxic to go outside. People without air conditioners are struggling because it is very hot but they can't open their houses up for breezes. One lady died in our city from the air quality. I feel very sad for homeless people who can't escape it. My partner's family got evacuated from their hometown and many towns and houses around them have been destroyed by fire. My family in Victoria were trapped on a beach for 2 days surrounded by fire and had to be evacuated by the Navy. Everyone around me seems to have been impacted in some way. It's been incredibly stressful and depressing in my city, and we're not even at direct risk of fires yet. There are two big fires quite close by. We are going to protest today because our fire service is almost entirely voluntary and our politicians are failing us on climate change. There is a very scared, sad, angry vibe around. That being said, people have also been helping each other out, lots of people offering their houses up to people fleeing from the coast and trying to help out where possible. Trying to focus on positives, but it's hard. It's pretty alright in Melbourne. We've had a few smoky days but nothing like what a lot of the rest of the country is facing. Over Christmas was staying down near the fires, it was pretty intense. People were being evacuated to near where we were staying so we were fairly safe but it was still unsettling, very dark and smoky and orange some days. Not long after we went home we had family members having to watch for embers down there, so that was concerning. Prior to Christmas was just lots of smoke and whole weeks of lightless red sun. My physio had 2 of her children lose their whole farms and livelihoods, and family knew people who had the same, worryingly close to areas I frequent in holiday periods. Towns I have been to as a kid are just gone, it's pretty horrifying. Parents are due to go away in a week and they're waiting to see if their holiday house is still standing. My hometown burned down last week. It was terrifying seeing the pictures in the news and not knowing if my family home or my mum's grave would still be there. Luckily the fire missed them by about 1 kilometer, but it's still burning and not yet under control. I live in the city now, so I've just been dealing with the hazardous air quality and eerie yellow sky for the past few months. That's nothing compared to the people back home. I live in Melbourne, so we have thankfully been spared the actual fires themselves, although the smoke rolled in about a month ago and has been terrible since. I'm not asthmatic, but I've been having trouble breathing and I'm a fit young person. Those people I do know who are asthmatic have been really struggling on a day-to-day basis. I was in South Australia camping on the beach over New Year's with friends. At one point we were ringed in by 3 fires in every direction. While none of these fires posed an immediate threat as they were dozens of kilometers away still, we had to be very careful on the drive back to Victoria, and at one point the smoke reduced the visibility on the highway to about 100 meters. On our last night at the beach, a gale hit us from Kangaroo Island, carrying smoke and causing ash to rain on us all night. It was an incredibly eerie and apocalyptic feeling and experience. Safe to say that we were all pretty bummed out by this and went to bed early. Beyond that, there is a general feeling of fear, unease and barely concealed rage at how these fires have developed and been handled. It's hard to know for certain what the political fallout will be from all this, but one thing that is for sure is that there is almost universal condemnation in much of Victoria for how the federal government has utterly failed in its duty to protect people and plan for this catastrophe, which was seen a long way out. The Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, is almost universally loathed for his decision to abandon the country during the unfolding crisis, amongst other terrible gaffes. People here want real solutions to climate change and proper support for our emergency services, and none of that has been forthcoming from this government so far. Honestly, on half of my state at one point had extreme fire and smoke danger while the other side was extreme thunderstorm warning. I'm so confused but also really disappointed at how much the government is doing for them. I also really have so much respect for those whose houses are burnt or burning or have to have been evacuated and those who are volunteering as firefighters. I'm American, but I just want to say to all the Australians here that I'm sorry this is happening, and that apparently the government is doing nothing. I would donate if I could, but I don't have a job nor money, so I've just been sharing the links that I can find. I hope it gets better soon, and I'm sorry if you've lost someone. Woke up coughing with stinging eyes because smoke is covering my city. It's stressful and depressing. I'm not in a fire zone, but I'm hearing about them, seeing images everywhere, knowing the country is burning and it could very, very easily burn where I live and I will have to run. I live near Kangaroo Island. Last night at 12:30 a.m. I was out of water and was extremely hot. Went to leave my room and as soon as I did I got this huge hit of smoke-filled air. Like, after a fire pit has been out for an hour and you get a ash smell. I just joined the CFS so I'm keen to do my part. But this is crazy since I predicted it'd be bad this year but I didn't think this bad. I live in the Adelaide Hills and had to evacuate for about a week just before Christmas due to the fires. Luckily they went away from us, no so lucky for the towns in that direction. Had to evacuate twice more since due to other fires flaring up, so mostly just an inconvenience for me, my family compared to those in the towns hit here or the poor people over on Key or in Vic and NSW. I am currently 2 kilometers away from a fire. It is controlled, which is great for everyone in the area, but it is still affecting the air quality quite a lot. I know there is a massive 7 kilometers away which is the main problem. It's only significantly affected me a few times. I went to school a few weeks ago and the halls were full of smoke, everyone got sent home but majority of people didn't come in the first place. Last night I woke up and came downstairs to my sister because of the strong smell of smoke and she said, "It smells like a bonfire." There have been many other similar situations but they are all to do with the air quality. For me the fires have just been a big irritation. I do know lots of people who have been in dangerous situations because of it though, mainly trying to protect their farms and families' homes. I've noticed my local grocery store is low on bread and their prices for some foods are higher than usual. One of my best friends lost her home. My town and the surrounding areas all had to be evacuated. Also, a program I was a part of in Canberra had to be cancelled due to air quality. Literally some days you couldn't see more than 100 meters away, and would get a headache or start coughing the second you stepped outside. Even the gas masks provided weren't considered enough to keep us safe, so we had to return home. They're not heavily affecting me since I live in the North Shore, suburbia of Sydney, but I had to cut my holiday short since the place I was staying was being evacuated. I know a lot of people being evacuated from their actual homes as well. But the thing that's affecting me the most is the smoke. I have to stay indoors nearly the whole day, and at one point the smoke was so bad it was 4x the hazardous level where I live, so basically the air was poisonous to breathe. Really sucks, sad face. Went to Melbourne and Sydney in December, it was quite physically hard to breathe. I have friends in Melbourne at the moment who are posting toxicity levels above smoking over 2 packs of cigarettes per day. Brisbane is relatively okay at the moment. Then again, if you're in regional areas your house is probably gone too and you'd be far worse off for air pollution. My town is not on fire right now. But a while ago there was a lot of fire and it was very smoky. I work in a school and do playground duty a lot and kids were asking if they can go to detention to get away from the smoke. One of my daughter's best friends was hospitalized. The main road to Brisbane was shut for weeks due to the damage from fires and it took an extra hour to get there. I travel to Brisbane regularly and when the road reopened I cried going through it and seeing the once beautiful green trees now black. Most of the schools here have been fundraising for the fires. First it was for the drought-affected families, which we are currently going through very severely, so severe in fact that I feel we will have to move shortly, so now drought-affected families don't have the support they once had but are understanding as to why. It is horrible all around honestly and I feel for everyone who has lost their lives and their friends and families. I'm not close to any currently burning fires, but the smoke has been unpleasant. I've been coughing a lot. It's early in the fire season, so I'm worried that later on there will be fires near here. I'm close to a national park and there's a lot here to burn. Checking the news and emergency warnings a lot. Food is scarce. They've hiked up the prices a lot. $5 for a loaf of bread.